Alright everybody, I'm here playing some Wolcen, and I just wanted to show you guys how I built my mage, kind of what it looks like when he's playing, and how you can build something similar, and some things to kind of look for and watch out for. So mainly it's not going to be your top tier damage, but it does feel good, especially when you're playing solo. It does lack the damage when you start getting into group play, but I would build a little differently if I were to be doing a lot of grouping. It does have really high mobility, and it does feel quite crunchy with its attacks. It is capable of doing a pretty decent amount of damage. It's pretty fast to do like adepts or some of the lower veterans, you know, veteran 1 or 2. They can clear pretty quickly to get you your uniques. I gotta check that. Check that at the end. It is something that could be an upgrade. Not very likely, but you never know. I do like the flexibility of this tree that I'm using. It does have some different ways you can do it that will help you with your gearing. So depending on what gear you have, there's a couple different points that you can play with. I find that the tree that I'm currently using works great for the items that I have, but if you have different roles, I'll show you some different points on the tree that will kind of help you have a better feeling mage. Alright, so boss is down. As you can see, that's pretty quick clear. I don't know how long that took, but you know, not too bad. We'll sell that ass junk. And nothing good? No, not quite. Alright, so we'll go over the items real quick, and I'll explain. So there is a little bit, the weapon slot is the main slot that kind of changes things, and also the ring and belt, or rings and belt rather. So on all your gear, you're just stacking as much material resist as you can. My pants I'll explain in a second as well. So just material resist, all res, material resist, all res. All my sockets are for all material resist. And then on my staff here, you'll notice I put a barrel, flawed barrel, and 2 alexandrites for more damage. So if you look at my staff, it doesn't have a flat willpower regeneration roll on it. Some of the staffs do. I think I have one in here that does. No, I do not. I think it's on my other character right now. But for instance, my pants do have that roll because they're rogue pants. They're not heavy or bruiser pants. So if you look at the bottom, it says 2 willpower regeneration. That is important to get enough willpower regeneration that you can maintain your casting. So that barrel that's in there will also just help with that. So if I were to pull that out, I'll just show you real quick. So if I pull that out, you can see how much slower my willpower comes back, and that just doesn't feel good. You're going to end up having too much downtime, so we'll do one more thing. We'll drain the bar, we'll pop that in, and you can see how much better that is. So that really helps the recovery out. So that's one of the things that I would say is really a good feature. Something else is the flawed cyanite. So in my ring right now, I have Copperstone for 20 toughness, but another option would be it'd be slightly less damage, but you want this, the cyanite, because it has transfer time from willpower to rage. So now that white bar will actually go into my rage quicker. So it gives me quicker, it's almost like cooldown reduction in a way. Alright, so now the passive tree. So I started off by going into soldier. I went 10 toughness, health regen, max health, 20 toughness, 10% max health, attack damage, kind of a wasted point just for traveling purposes. Retaliator is very key, that's why I'm stacking all the material resist. The more resistances you get, the more damage you deal. It does apply to your spells as well. Health regen doesn't really do me any good. Attack speed score doesn't really do me any good because I have auto attacks turned off. And then the 25% crit hit damage. And I went this direction, grab combat ready for ferocity and toughness. 20% critical hit score, so that's chance to crit. 20% crit damage. 20 ferocity, 10 spell damage. Regen and cost reduction. This point is basically the last point that's for the build, and that's the 100% spell crit chance score while willpower is above 75%. So while your bar is full, you'll crit more often. So it's important that when you cast your whatever this is called, tier, when you cast this, you'll notice that just casting it doesn't bring me below 750. So if you look at my number, if I'm above 750 when that hits, it's actually going to have a double the crit rate essentially. So that's very important when you use your nuke to try and restore your mana. That way you're getting crits rather than just hitting for like 2k or whatever. So that's why I have this here, to get my regen up. And then in my case, if you look at my staff, I do not have a staff that has a roll on it that gives you the flat willpower, so I went with the barrel. If I did have flat willpower on my staff, I would actually swap that out for another piece of alexandrite. In a perfect situation, that spell casting speed would be dropped, and I would want, let's see here, spell casting would go away, and I'd get the flat regen, which would allow me to drop the barrel, because the one on the weapons is significantly more than the pants, which would allow me to swap my pants to bruiser pants, or even heavy pants, so that would up my damage. And then there's also one other stat you can get on weapons that could be very helpful, and that is, so besides the regeneration, you can also get, there's something else that does spell. I'm trying to think of what it was. Oh, the leech. So if you get leech on your weapon, you can drop this point. So it's just a matter of playing around. I do believe you can get, you might be able to get spell leech on the caster gloves. I haven't really checked into that, but if your weapon has spell leech, then you can drop this node and you can put it into here, which will give you the regeneration, and that will allow you to put in another emerald, or I mean alexandrite. So the goal would be to get 3 alexandrites in your weapon and have the spell leech on your weapon, and then you'd be able to get your regeneration here. I think you still need this unless you have, in my case I would need 2 more sockets in my rings to put more of the cyanide in. But currently the copper stone also is good for the toughness, and that's going to increase your base damage. So I like to run the copper stone because I'm also running the top node here, the impatient. You can actually get a little bit better roll on the implicit for the staff as well. So mine's at minus 27%, and you know, you can get all the way up to 30, so that'd be slightly faster regen as well. Alright guys, that pretty much concludes the video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. You know, some of my gems are D-leveled, so continue to get better. Thirst is another key item. It's going to give you the spell damage that you need, but other than that, it's just all as much material resist as you can get, and for the stats, you just pump it all into toughness. Alright, thanks.